The Brothers of Liberty, here to remind you what true freedom is. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Liberty with the older brother Kelton here. Today we're going to be talking about how the government and the left wing wants to go ahead and try to raise our kids because they think parents shouldn't have a say in what goes on in the kid's life. I'm actually going through. Went through several while I was researching this. Went through several different blogs, articles of opinions and stuff. But I'm actually going to point out just three of them, which will be the links of the resources I use. Of the three that I'm discussing here will be in the descriptions. But what started it was an article that I read a few days ago, and that's called vcstar.com, and it's an opinion article. And the title said that California should abolish parenthood in the name of equity. Now, this person here goes on to state, and if anybody wants to know his name is Joe Matthews. That's one of the article. And he states that if California is ever going to achieve true equity, the state must require parents to give away their children. He states making raising your own children illegal. He quotes Plato's Republic stating that children be possessed in common so that no parent will know his own offspring or any child his parents in order to defeat nepotism and create citizens loyal not to their own sons but to society. Also states that the children should belong to the state, be a mandatory statehood, and then he makes examples of when parents don't want their kids and they give them so a state has programs where they can give it to like a fire station or something without fear of being prosecuted. He said that should be made mandatory for all parents because you should have poor parents, poor kids going to rich families, so everybody has the same playing ground. That's not the same playing ground by switching it and people belonging to the state. You're just now saying that all the kids should belong to the state. Because if you're saying poor families should be raising rich kids, then guess what? It's no longer, because now the state has control of everything you do. So yeah, it's not about equity, it's about control. And another article, which was back done in 2012 by a psychiatrist, and psychologytoday.com, and his name was Dr. Jim Teller, asked the question, should parents raise their own children? And he states parents are well-intentioned people and wants the best for their children, but he also says, like the old saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So it states that parents don't know what they're doing and they need experts. In other words, once again, who's the experts? Probably government-funded experts to make sure that kids do what the government wants and not what their parents wants to teach them. No longer individuality, but the common good, just like China when they took over. It's all for the common good. And the last one is the MSNBC promo, which I actually saw today, which helps out with the research. Dr. Melissa Harris Perry advocates that society should end the private idea that kids belong to their parents and families and they belong to the community. And it's in their Lean Forward program of the MSNBC promo. Now, mind you, she's not even a psychiatrist or a child person. She's a professor of political science. Now, what does political science has anything to do with raising kids? It's all propaganda and control. And what makes this so funny is they say that kids are ours and they belong to the community. That people never invested in public education as we should because people had notions that kids are parents' responsibilities or their family responsibilities. But here's the thing about what's so wrong about that MSNBC and what she said. Funny how this promo comes out, in 2021, when in 2020 we saw how much parents was investing in at the school boards and everything else. And all of a sudden, now that parents are actually concerned with what's being taught in the schools and now getting involved in the school public education, oh, we need to have a community of ours. Now the parents got involved, and now you're saying, oh, it's no longer the parents' responsibility. It need to be everybody's because you found out that the parents, when they got involved, didn't like what was being taught behind their backs and is demanding change. And if you don't change, they vote the people out who don't want to follow what needs to be taught, like education of math, science, reading, writing. Instead, it's not about teaching kids of how to think, it's teaching them what to think. And that's what makes you afraid of parents. Because when parents have their values and teach their kids, you're afraid it's not the values of the left, not the values of the Democrat way. This country was founded on liberty, individualism, and freedom. Democrats cannot call themselves liberal because liberal means you respect individual thought and individuality. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the common good now. You are a communist, plain and simple. This is a communist idea. Yes, communities do take a part in it. Teachers play a part in it. Daycare play a part in it if the children go to daycare. But the main responsibility is the parent. And some parents put kids in front of a TV and let them do that. But however, those are the bad. I'm not saying they're completely bad parents, but they should take more of a thing in their children's education, more of a step in their children's lives. Now, the government itself wants to expand children going to school even earlier, as early as 3 and 2 with the Head Start programs in school. And, that's about control to teach them what to think and not how to think. It's no longer a question of how to think, it's what to think. If they're teaching them how to think, civics will be back in school to teach the true Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and to let us know where we belong as a society. If you want to end racism, teach civics, how changes happen. But you don't want to do that. Why? You rather teach critical race theory to say, oh, because somebody's white, they have white privilege and you can't amount to nothing. Yet we had a black president for 8 years, served 2 terms. And yet you're trying to say that the country is still majority racist and white privilege. That doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense because it's about control. That's all the Democrats want. That's all they want. Because when they have a society they can control, it's easy to take away our freedoms and then subjugate us like China subjugate their people and Soviet Union. But hey, you want to say what you want. You want to try to advocate, oh, it's about education and our children. It's about controlling the education of what our children and the education that you give them and not what the parents decide when they vote on the school board. Now, I'm not saying that all early programs are bad. As a parent with special need kids, sometimes, parents do need that extra help. And if it's being done right, like in our case in South Carolina, they have helped our kids where they're now even and no longer behind in a lot of stuff they were behind in. But we also took an active role involved in our children and helped them as well. And like I always say, that's just my opinion on it. You can always tell me your opinion on it. But in the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years, children raising their parents, why all of a sudden parents raising their children, why all of a sudden the government needs to step in now? Because it's about control and it's just another way to get communism more openly accepted. Because when you have no people to think for themselves, it's a lot easier to institute tyranny. And like I said, that's just my opinion. What's your opinion on it? Like, share, subscribe. If you have any topics you want to discuss, Brothers of Liberty 76 at gmail.com. Or if you have any information you want us to pass along, YouTube kind of is slow growing because of the fact that YouTube pretty much probably makes sure the algorithm doesn't hit us. But Rumble is almost 100 subscribers now. And we have Telegram, Facebook, and other sources, Parler, and that we will not be silenced. So even if YouTube takes channels off or tries to, you know what? If you keep sharing it enough, more people will see it. And that's just facts. And there's always other ways to get the message out. Even before the internet, messages got out. So just remember that, YouTube. If you don't like what I say, you can ban me from your platform, but there's other platforms, and people can make their own web servers and stuff. Just remember that. So once again, this is the older brother Liberty reminding you what true freedom is and ought to be.